friends, welcome back to Belle's Books. Get cozy because today we are going to be talking about books. So these are books with beautiful imagery and remote nature settings. So personally, I love these kinds of books. I love books which transport me to other worlds, and books with lots of nature description really do that for me. I think because my life has always been quite city-based, so to read books which are set like in very remote places is such a big change from my regular life that it's something I really enjoy. So before we get started, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Belle's Books content. So yeah, without further ado, let's just dive into the video. So the very first book I'm going to recommend is one which I actually reviewed on my channel a few weeks ago, and that is The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. And this tells the story of Marion and Jamie Graves, but focuses especially on Marion. It's set in the 20th century, and the twins are orphaned as babies and grow up in Montana with their uncle. Marion becomes a female aviator and she flies to Alaska, and then she flies as a pilot in World War II as well. Before she attempts to circumnavigate the entire globe, it gives you all kinds of different landscapes to read about and to kind of explore. So from Montana to the Pacific Northwest to like the ocean, to Alaska, to New Zealand, to London, to LA, to Africa. The descriptive writing is beautiful and really luxurious and incredibly immersive, but the story is also so incredible and so freeing that it's going to be one of those books that makes you want to kind of give up everything and move out to the middle of nowhere in the best possible way. The next book I have is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I also have a book review for this one, so feel free to go and watch that. This novel tells the story of Kaya, who lives in a fishing village, or actually on the outskirts of a fishing village in a marsh. She learns everything she knows about the world from the land, and she studies the nature and she studies the animals, and she basically builds a life for herself outside of regular society. You become immersed in this beautiful marsh landscape, and you really get the chance to study it from different levels and experience the habitats and understand the animals, all thanks to Kaya, who is doing the same thing and going on the same journey herself. This is very different from The Great Circle, where the Crawdads Sing, you get really immersed into just one very specific beautiful landscape, whereas The Great Circle kind of gives you a taste of adventure and gives you all kinds of different landscapes. So next up we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and this tells the story, this is a classic obviously, it tells the story of Maxim de Winter and his new wife. She marries him and then she moves to Manderley, his estate in the English countryside, where she learns that his recently deceased wife is going to kind of haunt their lives in a certain way, and far more than she had possibly expected when they met. So the book itself has lots of eerie, creepy vibes, but it also includes tons of lovely description of English coastline, English countryside, all the way from like luscious greenery to really harsh, rocky beaches, and it's just an incredible read. The story is excellent, and as is the description, especially if maybe you live in England or you live somewhere where you kind of feel like it's not beautiful because you're so used to it. Like, reading this will kind of give you a new perspective and a new appreciation for the beauty in the world around you. So the very next book I have is The Mountain Between Us by Charles Martin, and this is the story of two strangers who meet at an airport and then become stranded due to a blizzard and a kind of plane crash. They have no supplies and they have to somehow make it back to society. They get to know each other in the wilderness somewhat, but some mysteries kind of remain open-ended. And you get really immersed into the snowy landscape which they're surviving in, which is the mountains in Utah. And it's a very different kind of experience of nature description. I think that you end up feeling really connected to the characters because there are so few characters in the novel, you kind of cling to them. You really focus in on them, and the experience of the nature description, the nature imagery is very much first-hand and almost feels like you've lived it and you've been there with them. The next book is Into the Wild by John Krakauer, and Christopher McCandless hitchhikes to Alaska, walks into the wilderness and vanishes into the wild. I don't think I need to explain any more than what I said. You get tons of landscape and tons of Alaska landscape. I know I sound like a broken record. I'm obsessed with Alaska, so I really love that type of landscape, and I think that you will probably too. The final book is a very different type of vibe. So this is Journey to the River Sea by Ibbotson. This is a young adult children's book, but I've read it multiple times and I'm captivated by the nature imagery. Basically, An orphan named Maurier moves to live along the Amazon River, and she really is looking forward to exploring the beautiful rainforest around her. But the family that she lives with is not interested in getting to know the nature imagery around them, and are basically germaphobes. And she wants to find a way to explore nonetheless, and every time she gets the chance to explore a little bit of the rainforest, she's absolutely captivated by it. And because the story is told from her perspective, you get some really incredible nature imagery. So even though it is a young adult children's book, I think it's worth the read even for adults, just because it is so beautiful. And how often do you have a chance to read about landscape, specifically the jungle, the rainforest, the Amazon River? I don't think that really comes up in literature all that often. So yeah, those are my 6 recommendations for nature lovers. I hope that if you are a nature lover, you enjoy at least one of these books. If you have any other recommendations which are kind of on this topic, please do leave them in the comments down below, because I'd absolutely love to read more books with beautiful nature descriptions. As I said, I love being immersed into kind of different worlds and different landscapes. Yeah, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe!